not. So, the Shift Initiative. It's a dedicated safety initiative in the UK. It's the only one of its kind that we're aware of in the Western Hemisphere, and it's been around since 2003. It's administered by myself on behalf of the Cast Metals Federation, who are one of the member companies of the HSE's Oversight Committee in the UK. So what's it all about? Well, we all know we're probably one of the oldest manufacturing industries there actually is. We're also unique in there are two time eras named after us, obviously those being the Bronze and Iron Ages. The problem when you've been around for that length of time and the fundamental basics of melt metal, put it into a mould, make a shape and do something with it afterwards, is that it hasn't changed in all of that time. What's changed around it is the science and the understanding. And when you've been around for that length of time, any industry starts to develop catchphrases and attitudes and ways of doing things. And sadly, like a lot of manufacturing industries, we have this one. If I go onto the shop floor of any foundry and I look at somebody working and I say, why are you doing a job like that? They'll say, but we've always done it this way. And when it comes to health and safety, that's a catchphrase and a culture that we've got to get rid of, that we've got to change. We've got to stop things being seen as a bolt-on, as a nicety. It's got to be part of what we do every day if we're going to be productive and take the industry forward. Anybody from outside of our industry, if you mention foundries to them, they instantly think of images such as the one on the left-hand side of the screen. They think that foundries are dark, they're smelly, they're dirty, that they're very dangerous, people have lots of accidents and injuries, but also that people that work in the industry are quite low skilled, perhaps not as intellectually bright as some other industries, and that's why these sort of manual tasks, things are actually done. We all know, working in the industry, that's not the case, because with all of these things going on, and scientific analysis and examination techniques, CT scanning, X-rays, simulation software, a huge amount of things going on, plus all the buzzwords at the moment on recycling, reusing products and materials. Well, we've been doing that before recycling was even a thing. But we've got to convince the outside world that we've changed, that we are modern, that there is a place for people to come into this industry and have a lifelong career. We need to do that to get people through the door. And then when we've got them through the door, we need to be changing in order to keep them safe so that they want to stay with us. We also need to make sure that we want to stay in business, and we want to avoid the gaze of the regulator, the HSE. Every time a bad accident occurs and the HSE are involved, there's huge financial implications to that individual business. It brings pressure on the whole of the industry from the HSE. For every time you stop a machine for a major accident and an investigation, you lose productivity, and then you restart and you've got to make readjustments to get the quality of the product back up. You've got to bring a process back up to full production speed. So embedding health and safety as part of what we do as processes, rather than the bolt-on, should be good for business reasons, not just for ticking boxes for keeping people safe against legislation. But we are slow to change. The industry is very much slow to change and react to changes that are imposed on it. And these changes tend to come from legislation as set by the UK and also through the European Union over the years as well. A lot of that legislation, which was actually designed and created in the UK, went into Europe, came back out to us as directives, and then our government then decided to gold plate what we'd actually helped design in the first place, which doesn't do anybody any favours. But a lot of people will say, but this is how we work, this is what a foundry does, this is how foundries are, and nobody understands us anymore. There's no technical expertise from people coming to look at us. And we all know which three little letters in the UK people are thinking of at that point in time. However, when we continue with that mindset, it means the regulators started to lose patience with the industry over the years. If you look at the poster on the right hand side, you can see it's quite an old poster, but we know for a long while that machines needed to be guarded, they need to be kept safe. If we look at that helmet in the centre, that visor, if a foundry wasn't using the latest equipment, keeping people safe, that would have been potentially a life-changing injury or worse. And every business everywhere has at least one slip-trip hazard somewhere on site. But ultimately, in 2003, the HSE came to industry via its own oversight committee and said, "Dear foundry industry, your accident rates are too high. Your leadership levels are too low. There's too much enforcement. There's no real drive from within the industry to change, to become more modern with what you're doing, to match what the rest of manufacturing is doing." And basically, it was laid on the table, if the industry didn't change itself, or to paraphrase a phrase, physician, heal thyself, then we were going to see a lot of pressure from the HSE. So after lots of discussions, lots of work, toing and froing with the Boyack committee and other people, the Shift Initiative was born. The image on the right-hand side is of Judith Hackett, now Dame Judith Hackett, and she was the keynote speaker when Phase 2 launched in 2012. So the HSE have always taken Shift very seriously. They've always supported what we've done, and they continue to do so today. Boyack is now called CHASAC, and it comprises all sectors within the industry. So the HSE is there as a regulator. We've got several unions there because obviously they represent individual people. The trade associations there because we're neutral and independent of everybody else, because we're trying to promote the casting industry for the whole of the UK. But we also have support from industry. So there's chemical suppliers there. There's occupational health companies involved. But crucially, we have a range of foundries, all metals, processes and sizes. So the voice of industry is heard when health and safety is looked at and what industry's concerns are addressed. But what is Shift? As I've already said, it's a one-of-a-kind safety initiative. It's open to any business in the UK that has a foundry process as part of it. So it doesn't necessarily mean a bespoke foundry. It could be a manufacturer who, as part of their products, actually makes castings themselves on their own site. So as long as they're in the UK and operating a UK foundry, they can become a member of Shift. They don't need to be a member of the trade association or the institute. But obviously, from both parties, we would hope they would be, because again, it's more opportunities for them to network, to learn from others. And it's administered by the trade association because we are neutral compared to other people. Shift's had one aim since it was conceived, and that's to continually reduce the numbers of reportable accidents, because these are the most serious ones. But also to have a reduction in the overall number of accidents, and also to reduce and prevent occurrences of occupational health conditions in foundries, such as industrial deafness, such as hand-arm vibration, such as respiratory disorders. And it's done by sharing and networking. Done in a number of ways. We hold 3 forum events each year where we have people come in person. We have a range of expert speakers there. And as people can see from the image on the right-hand side, they also have to listen to me periodically. But members can network with each other. They can share good practices. They can share best practices. They can share examples of where things have gone wrong and changes have been made. They've got help via phone and email. And if the industry can't answer a problem or tackle an inquiry from within, working from ourselves as the trade association, we've got lots of external contacts, experts in products and services, as well as a regulator that we can speak to. On the flip side, we get kept up to date with what the HSE is doing by the HSE. So recent examples being when they had the Legionella campaigns, we knew in advance about those. We knew in advance about welding fume classification changes. So we could actually put information out to members and give presentations, bring in LEV people, bring in RPE people to actually show the industry what's out there. And latterly, we've developed a limited range of health and safety training courses, similar to other ones delivered by professional organisations, but these courses have been tailored specifically to the foundry industry. So when we move beyond the law, we're specifically talking about examples within foundries, information within foundries, experience within foundries. And that's proving quite helpful to a lot of people. Shift will talk about anything and everything to do with health and safety. And these are just some of the areas that we've covered in our forums in recent years. But besides that, any member with any concern or any problem can come to us and say, I'd like to hear an expert speaker on this. Could we find some information on that? And when you've got over 115 foundries in membership, then if one person's got an interest in it, the chances are a good number of others have as well. So we will always work with what our members tell us, as well as what we get from the HSE and what accident reporting into shift shows us. It's the ongoing, continuous, dedicated work of the people at the sharp end, of the people in the foundries, of the foundry management teams that have yielded the results that we've seen in the past generation. When we started this project, we had a reportable accident rate of over 4,200 per 100,000 people in the industry. We know there's not 100,000 people in the industry, but we've standardised the reporting to match what the HSE and the ONS and the Labour Survey report. Now, at the end of last year, that figure was down to 725. And that's only down to the hard work of the individuals on their sites. We can help, but ultimately they have to put the work in. Our overall number of accidents, we're down circa 70% from where we started. But as we've improved, so has the rest of manufacturing. So we're still about 3 times worse on our rates than they are. It takes everybody at the foundry to work as a team to make the changes. And if changes are made and we see less accidents, we see less near misses, we see less absenteeism, which means production lines are working more efficiently and more effectively. So we should see improved repeatability and reproducibility and quality. We should see tack times being met. We should see production rates improving. And if the business becomes less of a risk, hopefully, then there'll be reductions in other cost areas, such as insurances and dealing with waste. But all of this comes from improving health and safety and bolting it into production. So it's not an afterthought, it's not a separate thing. And the sketch on the right-hand side just gives a typical example of a lot of industries where something starts to go wrong and who's going to fix it and how we're going to do it. It's just getting that one person to go, do you know what? I'll turn the tap off. Now let's go and talk about why it was left running. We learn from that because we put pressure-related taps in. So you press it down and after a period of time, it cuts off. Then you get rid of the leak. A basic improvement. Really easy to do. Ultimately, we don't want to have lots of very heavy enforcement dictated and thrown at us when we don't need to do it. I think the example on the left-hand side sort of prime example of where overkill could actually go to. And we need to avoid that. If we can improve ourselves when we work together as a team, and when we're talking about health and safety, it makes no odds that there are 60 different foundries sat in a forum meeting. Effectively, we're one team of people because we're all there with one purpose in mind, to keep everybody safer and everybody healthier. And if we can do that, we can make the industry safer day by day. We can make these changes that will help bring new blood into the industry. Because a lot of people in our industry have been around for a long time, and at some point we all want to retire and enjoy things. The pandemic over the past 2 years has really changed a lot of people's focus and mindsets in relation to work and personal and private lives. And that's going to continue. So we've got to get people in. And if we can make these changes, we can keep this industry thriving in the UK. A lot of modern industries don't work without parts made in foundries. The real world doesn't work without parts made in foundries. So I'd encourage anybody who's interested in learning more about shift or thinking about becoming shift members, if they're in a foundry, to please get in touch. My details are there on the screen. I can be found via the shift website. I can be found via the CMF website. But thank you for listening. If there are any questions, we'll take these at the end of the evening after the main presentation from John. And we can have open discussions as necessary as well, because time will permit us to do that. So I will stop sharing my screen and I will make John the main presenter. So over to you, John from Red Wing. If you'd like to share your screen, then everyone can see the presentation.
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully you can still hear me okay.
We can indeed, yes.
And second, oh. You can see my screen okay? We're okay?
Yep, we can see that fine, John.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting us, myself and my two colleagues along today. Thanks very much for the opportunity. And of course, thanks very much for taking time out of your Wednesday evening to be with us for this presentation. As I mentioned, I've got a couple of colleagues with me. Both have been hugely crucial to our product launches, which we'll go into just in a bit of time in terms of the detail on those. But Kristen and Amy both join us from the US, so if you wish to introduce yourself both, that would be fantastic.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for having us. I'm Kristen Hamilton. I am the Merchandising Director for Global Work. Happy to be here today. Thanks, John.
And Amy?
Hi, I'm Amy, and I work alongside Kristen and partnering with John to help develop product.
Thank you, and thanks both for joining us. Really appreciate your support, and I guess also so people don't need to listen to my Scottish accent for the next 20 minutes or whatever that may be. So hopefully you can put up with me. If I need to slow down a bit, feel free to tell me that as well. But hopefully we can take you through the presentation. Okay, there we go. We're moving now. So just on to a quick agenda. I would like to try and make it interactive if at all possible. Please don't hesitate to jump in with a question or comment or anything that is relative to you. I've no problem answering questions constantly, or if you prefer to keep it till the end, again, no problem with that. So just a brief introduction to who we are. Many of you may well not know of Red Wing, so hopefully we can do a bit of history, a bit of background on the company, and then I'll take you into some product detail and the products that we've launched for your industry that are specific to your industry. And as I say, if you wish to ask any questions, you know, during the presentation, don't hesitate whatsoever. The purpose really of today, from our point of view, is to try and get closer to your industry. We joined CMF over a year ago, I think now, and we have worked via Richard to launch our footwear, to offer some free trials to many of the foundries to get some feedback, to try and get further insight. In a perfect world, which of course with COVID it is not, but in a perfect world we probably would have visited quite a number of those foundries just to try and gain a better insight into what you do. As I'll probably mention, we are quite new to your industry. I'll tell you a little bit obviously about Red Wing and maybe some of the industries that we are more commonly known in, but we are new to your industry, so we are still learning, and we would like your help to continue to learn and continue to improve in terms of what products we bring out. So just moving on, first thing I like to do, and I knew of Red Wing before I started. I've been with the company now for 6 years, but many of our brands are known throughout Red Wing. Were worn by Mr. Beckham, Mr. Cooper, and Miss Ryder. We have a fashion range known as Heritage, and beyond that, we also have an outdoor range, a hiking range, Irish Setter and Vass respectively. And where we come in is really on the Red Wing, what we call Outfitters, which is our safety division. So I look after, for Europe, our manufacturing brands, if you want, within the safety range. And that mainly falls under footwear, garments and accessories. So that's my role and responsibility as far as Red Wing's concerned. We're a privately held corporation. We've been in business now for 115 plus years. Founded in a little place called Red Wing, which is about an hour outside of Minneapolis. If you do ever get the chance to go, I do encourage it. Very nice place to visit, and please take the opportunity to visit some of our manufacturing plants. If you do, it's very, very worthwhile visit. I've now done it a couple of times myself, but it's an eye-opening experience. We still hand stitch many of our products right there in Red Wing, as I say, about an hour outside Minneapolis. We've over 2,000 employees. We do an awful lot of retail business in North America. It's a very different business model in Europe, where we tend to work through distribution partners. We sell 5 million pairs of footwear approximately a year, and 2 million garments. And we have 4 large warehouses globally. So what started off from humble beginnings at Red Wing, we now have a hub in Dubai, in the Middle East, obviously, in Houston in the US, in Aberdeen in Scotland, which is where I work from, and also in Stavanger in Norway. And as I mentioned before, we deal through distribution partners, generally speaking, for our business, certainly for our business across Europe and the Middle East and Africa. So as I say, it is a very, well now anyway, it is a very global company. We have a huge worldwide footprint. We have tanneries in the US, as you can see there from the map. We have corporate offices across the world. And as you'll see from the, my apologies, from the map here, it delves into a little bit further detail on where we're represented. As I say, we manufacture our footwear in the US for our European footwear, and the boot that we'll introduce you to, if you've not already seen it, is manufactured in Italy. Our garments for our division mainly are manufactured in Pakistan, although we do have some other hubs globally that manufacture our garments as well. So there is a real global footprint for Red Wing. As I say, we've come from quite humble beginnings. We're a family-run business, started by a chap called Charles Beckman, who we still have boots named after today. And as you'll see from our history and from where we've come to, we opened in Jebel Ali, which is the Middle East and Americas, and then we bought a head-to-toe PPE distributor in Aberdeen that services our oil and gas industry, if you want, and that has been the main industry that we've been involved in so far as safety is concerned. So it is an industry like yourself that takes safety very seriously. You know, we're talking about any incidents potentially could be, as Richard said, I think life-changing, or certainly could be fatal, I guess. So we are dealing with an industry mainly that is takes safety very as a priority, really. It needs to be right. It needs to be the right product for the industry, and that is no different, I guess, from you guys in terms of the industry that you work in. So, you know, very excited to be working with you. Very excited to be presenting today, to be able to try and share some insight into our products and maybe how we can take that forward with you. So, as I mentioned, across the world, and in terms of what we do today, we have almost 1,000 footwear styles across those different brands that I mentioned, with several different workwear and accessory styles. We manufacture now gloves, safety eyewear, you know, socks, bags, that sort of thing. But our main product, our main core business is footwear. The company is called Red Wing Shoe Company, or the shoe. where it's better known. In the US, it tends to be known as the shoe, or fondly known as the shoe. So it's funny when we visited America to go to Red Wing meetings, especially when you land in Minneapolis, when you go through customs, etc. They'll ask you what you're doing, where you're going, and you say you work for Red Wing, and they open the gates for you. It's an institution in America, but less well known here, although obviously we're trying to change that and certainly get into the different industries, including your own beyond the oil and gas industry. So with regards to footwear, we, as I say at Red Wing, take safety very, very seriously. So we don't just design a product and launch it and hope for the best. We very much do our own internal testing before anything gets launched, before it's even taken to independent testing for certification. We'll do 50 to 75 tests on any product that we want to launch or that we're intending to launch. And if it fails, we'll go back to the drawing board. So once we know it's going to be successful in terms of passing these tests, we'll take it to external testing for independent certification. From then, we'll take it to wear testing to ensure that whichever product it is that we launch is accepted in the industry that we are looking to target it for. And in fairness, nothing is probably more truer than the boot we launched for the foundry industry, which hopefully seamlessly takes me on to introducing what is commonly known as our Ultra Guard, which is our style 3241, which is the boot that some of you guys may have seen, and if not, I certainly would like you to get a pair, to have a pair, and therefore see what you think for yourselves. But I'll pass it over to Kristen just at this point, just to give you a bit of detail behind how we launch the product, and then I'll take you into the product itself, if that is okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, John. Appreciate that.
No problem.
Thank you so much for having us, you guys. We're so excited to be here. John, if you could go to the next slide. Oh, no, back one.
Apologies.
Yep, just stay right here for just 1 second, just so I can cue it up here. So, these images are not new for any of you. You know better than I do how critical protection is for these environments. You just heard John give a really great overview of Red Wing Shoe Company. Of course, we pride ourselves in making premium work boots, and we've been doing it for a long time, 116 years. I would tell you that as merchandising director for global work, we do take safety incredibly seriously. It's a top priority for our company. It's a top consideration for our product team when developing any new boot or PPE garment before it gets to any of you. So as we're discussing today, these extreme conditions, foundry boots and garments need to be built to perform. A smelter's safety is at risk if they do not have the right head-to-toe PPE. All right, next slide. Thank you. So when you think about these extreme conditions, when you think about from a product development standpoint, it's super easy to overbuild a boot. Because of that, many foundry boots in the industry are known for being extremely heavy and super uncomfortable. Some of those core safety qualifications that we hear from our customers is that they need an 8-inch boot, they need to have a Met guard, they need puncture resistance, they need non-metallic and fire-resistant materials, and many customers either recommend or require a dip test approval. This project is super exciting for us because Red Wing was able to build 3241, which is our Ultra Guard boot, with a key player in the foundry industry. One of our developers received information that end users in the foundry were unhappy with how heavy and uncomfortable their current boots were. We were able to talk to end users firsthand and get feedback that truly shaped our strategy and vision for this new footwear introduction. So we partnered with this foundry and together decided to do a wear trial and of course that extensive dip test that they required. The things that we wanted to keep in mind was of course trying to deliver on that comfort, that flexibility throughout the day, and then also lighter weight, and really try to not overbuild it, but still pass all those safety qualifications we needed and pass that rigorous dip test. Next. So here's the dip test that we worked on. So for this dip test, the boot is prepared on a special last. That boot is dipped into that hot liquid metal, so the liquid cryolite. The temperature of the test is between 950 and 970 degrees Celsius. It is put in that hot liquid metal for 4 seconds, and that cryolite is sticky and it stays on the boot. What deems a dip test successful is that the laces completely burn up, so that boot becomes open for that easy kickoff function. There can't be any leather shrinkage. The boot needs to remain straight coming out of the dip test. There can be no traces of metal inside the boot and no sign of damaged lining due to the heat. And that metatarsal cover must be separated from the boot. Next slide, John. Oh, back, there you go. I think within product, we all want to get to the end game. We want to get to that product. We want to be able to say, here you go, sales team, introduce it. But this product launch took 2 years, 2 years, and it was a long development journey. But I'll tell you that throughout the process, everyone remained energized that we were doing something truly special and unique. Throughout the process, we kept asking ourselves, is it lightweight enough? Is it flexible enough? Does it have that comfort? Well, we went through every single one of those dip tests that I just described. We like to joke, just to keep our spirits up, that every fail was a step in the right direction. So what I'll tell you is we did it. We did pass that dip test approval. We feel great about, you know, the features that John will go through with you in just a second. But what I'm really excited is that we put it on a wear test after we passed that dip test. And we received just incredible positive results from our wear trial participants. They love that boot so much that our poor developer that helped develop it got calls all the time of when can it ship, when can it ship? And so, that was really exciting. So, and the other thing that we had to do is make sure that it passed not only EN standards, but also ASTM and CSA standards, because it would be distributed globally. So, without further ado, I will pass it back to John, who can walk you through the key features of UltraGuard, and then he's also going to walk you through our garments as well, which is very exciting. So thanks, John.
Thanks, Kristen. Thank you very much. Yeah, as you can see, I thought best that Kristen explained obviously what happened and how it's happened and how we got to this point to launch this particular boot. But I hope you'll all agree and you'll all see it. It's one of those things that we can and could just bring a boot out and hope for the best, but at Red Wing, it's not something we do. We want to have something that's going to last, that's going to be in the market for a number of years, but more so protect the user and last for the user as well, based on that safety requirement that they have. So, as I say, this is the boot in its full form, as opposed to dipped in the cryolite there. So, this is our data sheet, if you want. And obviously, in terms of the features for the boot, it's a full grain leather, a flame resistant leather. They dry their leather slightly more to ensure that it meets that requirement. It has Kevlar reinforced stitching. Of course, as Kristen mentioned, it's very much a boot that was designed with flexibility and comfort in mind. As Kristen says, that the company we worked with to manufacture and develop this boot, that was their key issue, of course meeting those safety requirements, but the reasons they wanted to work with us was to produce or make a boot, have us manufacture a boot that would be more flexible and more comfortable for the user, which I guess no matter what industry you look at, that's what everybody wants, be it oil and gas, be it automotive, be it food. You know, in terms of safety, everybody wants something that's comfortable to wear, and I guess that's regardless of what type of PPE it is. Of course, it needs to meet the safety standards and exceed, most likely in our case, but it needs to be flexible, it needs to be comfortable. And as I say, you have a boot that has the metatarsal protection, it has a puncture resistant sole, and it's best in class for slip resistance as well. So all in all, a boot again that's manufactured, as I say, in Italy. It's actually, for Europe, certainly probably one of our fastest selling boots. So the uptake on it is very, very high. And as I say, our goal with you today is to try and introduce that into the UK industry and hopefully take that beyond into Europe. So I'm certainly keen in the near future, when COVID allows, to start to visit some of the foundries, understand what you do, how you do it, and hopefully you know, try and meet your demands as well. Before I touch on or before I take you into the garment, is there any questions anybody wants to ask specifically on the footwear, or is that something you would prefer to leave till the end? Entirely up to you guys.
Just a couple of questions, John and Kristen. Has anything been done with regards to doing dip tests at a much higher temperature, so for dealing with ferrous metals? Because realistically in a furnace they're going to be at circa 1530 degrees C plus, so yourself in speaking Americans were 2800 degrees Fahrenheit plus. So has any dip testing been done to those sorts of levels?
Or at least any testing that would indicate how long it would take to burn through at that temperature.
Can you repeat that temperature for me, and I can check with the developers on that?
Yes, certainly. The temperature I'm referring to is around anything above 2800 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And one of the other people on the call, Cameron, was actually interested in, is there anything in terms of what's the burn time through for the boot? So it's been tested in there for 4 seconds, but is there any further data on how long it would take to actually burn through, so you're going to get metal penetration to the skin?
Okay, we will have to get back to you on that. Thank you. Good questions.
I have a question. How fast can you take that boot off if there's a lace underneath? If you're working on the melting and you get some aluminium or iron down your boot, and trust me, I have, you need to be able to get that boot off very quickly. I noticed that you said if the lace had burnt through, there's a quick release. If there's a lace underneath and you're working in the melting and you have to untie it and you've got a splash or quite an appreciable amount down inside the boot, it's not nice. Trust me, I know. So do you actually mark it one where there's no laces so that you can just undo that flap and get it off fast?
Yeah.
It's important to melting manage that.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. We have gotten that question before. This boot was not built with one of the quick release rods that I know some have it. The thought is if it was on fire, you wouldn't want to reach down there and grab it. You know, it was built for those extreme conditions that the lace would immediately, you know, burn off and the boot could come off. We don't want hands down there. So that was, you know, but it's something that we can definitely consider in future development.
Yeah. If it's burning through laces, you're in big trouble anyway. It's the splashes more than anything, and they can then lead to you dancing or tripping and all sorts of things. So I would suggest you have a look at that. I think that's quite important.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your answer. Thank you.
Of
Yeah,
course.
no, I appreciate those comments though, for sure. As I say, we designed it with, you know, a specific company in mind that we developed the boot for. So of course it meets their requirements fully, and actually many companies recognise that dip test is an approved standard. But absolutely take your feedback on board, and it has been something that has been mentioned when we've done some of the trials with various foundries across the UK. So it's well noted, but thank you for that also.
Okay.
Anything else before we move on?
Just for the like, what ratings did it conform to? Was it S3, SRC, HRO, and
yeah,
P?
Yes. So HRO, SRC, S3, and puncture resistance as well, along with your metatarsal protection. So it has passed all these tests. I think, as Kristen mentioned, it's a boot that will be distributed globally, so it has to meet EN, CSA, and ASTM.
Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Okay, so moving on to our Foundry Pro garment, which is something that we've only introduced very recently, even more so than the footwear that we brought on. I actually have some samples now. I had some specially made for a visit I was due to take with Richard at the end of last year, and unfortunately my family got struck down with COVID, and then later in December I think there was a few issues with regards to foundry visits because of COVID. So as I say, hopefully that will happen very soon, so I can let some of those foundries see the product and the garment itself. But we'll take you through just a little bit about these garments. So this is a lensing FR high performance fabric. It's a wool blend, but it's man-made from wool pulp. But again, it adheres to the highest of safety standards with regards to flame resistance, namely those that are D3 and E3, which are your highest classes for molten metal splash. One of the comments, I think, when Richard and I were speaking about these garments in the first instance when we were introducing them, was that our product was very much lighter than anything else that was out there, or maybe anything else that Richard had seen in the marketplace from a weight point of view. Again, we get the question, even in the mild climates of the UK, for lighter weight garments all the time. You know, it's something that everybody wants. As I say, people want to feel comfortable in their PPE, so being able to bring something to market that is lighter than anybody else's product, of course meeting the safety standard, is a real bonus from our point of view. So that was good. As I say, you see different options in terms of tape. As I say, this is a very new product, so based on your own requirements, we can manufacture this product in almost any colour that certainly you see on the screen there. I dare say nobody would want it in something too obscure, but yeah, any of these colours that you see there, as well as the reflective tape where you may or may not want that option. I think when Richard and I spoke about this previously, it may be something that you want and want more of, actually. Again, that's possible. So this is very much at the beginning of this particular product, and therefore there are options based on what you guys need. At this point, again, we're very new to what you might need in this industry. I'm sure not everybody wears exactly the same product across all the foundries and all the members that we're speaking to even today or beyond this in terms of the recording. So I'd be very keen to, again, visit foundries, have discussion with you if remote is easier, to try and understand what you do, what you need. These products are very durable. They have excellent tensile strength, excellent abrasion levels. And I think one thing that's always common in terms of garments for workwear is your shrinkage in terms of laundry. But as you'll see there noted, that the tolerance is approximately 2 to 3% shrinkage based on laundering obviously correctly, and we can provide guidelines for that as well. But this is very much a product that we believe will be of interest to the members here and the foundries across the UK. I think there was a couple of comments Amy was going to make just on these garments as well, if I can just pass over for a second or a minute or two.
Yes, thanks, John.
No problem.
Sorry, I'm new to using this type of technology. So I had to find the mute button. Yes, all the items that you have highlighted there are really what we wanted to point out. Just like on the footwear, we did some wear testing and wear trials with some of our existing customers, as this being a new item and a new fabric for us. And the points that John spoke of is really the highlights that they shared back with us from the wear trial, which I think is always good to point out. So they were really impressed with the color fastness to washing. That seems to be something that comes up, you know, from time to time, especially like on the navy blue and the petro blue. We got feedback that can be a concern. Another thing that they called out is that the fabric did not irritate anybody's skin. That was feedback that we had been given prior, that, you know, sometimes with these types of blends, people will experience irritation on the skin, and they were happy with that they did not experience that. They were also really happy with the reflective tape performance, so how it didn't wear down or didn't rub off after washing. And then fourthly, as you noted, is highly abrasion resistant. So they were really impressed with the durability of the tear and the abrasion resistance in their wear. And then they also did some of their own testing with fabric samples too. I did see the question come up too. I was going to comment on sizing. All of these start, this is a men's specification. It is not women's. So that was, I think, a question. The men's sizing does start in an extra small. So it definitely can accommodate to the female. But we are looking at, as we've introduced this, looking at offering it for females. That has came up right away, as it does in all of our industries, honestly. And we've had a lot of conversations about providing the right fit for that female that is working in the foundries. We know that's very important from a safety perspective. We know, you know, sometimes unfortunately women tend to get the wrong size and it's not fitting them properly, which can be a huge safety concern. So please work with John on those questions and those concerns, and hopefully we can provide a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. No, absolutely. I think something around the right fit has been common for our industries that we work with, just in terms of ensuring that male or female people get the right product and the right fit PPE, no matter, you know, who, what size they are, and we're here to help that, so we can absolutely look at the possibility of manufacturing any of our products in lady styles, larger styles, whatever that may be in terms of the needs for the customer. Amy also mentioned just a quick video that I'm going to attempt to share with you. I was warned by Richard about maybe bandwidths in terms of being able to show a video. As Amy mentioned, the company who we trialed these garments with did their own in-house testing. So Richard, I think you might have it, but I'm going to attempt to do it from here myself. If I just stop sharing my screen for a second.
Yes, I've got the video that you sent to me, so I can load that separately, have that loaded separately into the members area of the website and actually show that. But hopefully we'll be looking. It will run tonight.
Yeah, I hope so. I will. The audio might not work, but can you see that okay? The video?
I can see the main screen okay. The video hasn't started playing.
Right. But can you see the video itself, the sort of fabric swatches, as we call them, in the all
we can see at the moment is your desktop.
Is my desktop, okay.
We can see where the video file is, but we can't see the video.
Yeah, yeah. Better?
Yeah, we can see the video now.
Okay, let's see. There's no real volume from it anyway, so it's just to show.
So, so obviously he's pouring aluminium on that, isn't he, John? So
Yes.
that's around what, about 600 degrees. Again, the theme I guess everyone's going to be asking is, how does this clothing fare up against temperatures in excess of 1500 degrees?
Yep.
And also my next question is, I have two questions. In terms of the laundry, so obviously they say that they shrink, but if there was to be any damage, are these able to be repaired, or would it be a completely buy fresh? And also about the sequence of where these garments go. So are these like the first layer, or are these over under layer? Like where do they sit in the layer of in clothing for melting?
So yeah, so these are obviously outer garments in terms of the protection that they offer, but I think we take on board fully the point of the 1500 degrees, and it's something again we'll need to come back to you on. The shirts are slightly longer. We always sort of felt that when we brought these products to market, they we take for the oil and gas industry, for example, we generally supply coveralls, which tends to be a preferred option just from a safety point of view. But I guess it's already very hot where you work, and you probably don't want a coverall. You'd probably rather have a two-piece. So I don't know if that's common for your foundry, your industry where you are today.
Typically, it's a base layer of flame-resistant clothing with a MM1 jacket, and then if you're doing melting, it's an aluminized clothing on top. So
yeah,
you were just wondering where.
Over, yeah.
So where it fit in that sequence, that's all.
Yeah. So of course you would still wear your overlayer on top of that. I'm not sure, Amy, if you know Garmco, if they wore. That was the company that we worked with in Bahrain, actually, that used these. I'm not sure if you know the combination of garments that they wore, Amy, but it's certainly something we can find out. As I say, we're new to this in terms of the garments themselves, but in terms of the standards that's required and the product itself, I think we have a good starting point in terms of what we can offer, bearing in mind that of course we can double check where we're at with the higher temperatures.
Yeah, I'm not sure the answer to the higher temperatures. I know that they were wearing this not as a layering system. They wear, at least for the trousers, that is their one layer. And then on the top, they typically have a work shirt, and then this is a jacket.
Yeah, okay.
Hopefully I can get my presentation back on, if you can see. So I guess that does take us on to questions and answers. I am quite happy to take further questions on garments or on the footwear, on Red Wing in general. But I'd very much be keen to take any further discussion with you out with this presentation after, if you have any questions. But yeah, absolutely, if there are any more questions just now, feel free. My details are on the screen now, providing I'm sharing the right screen now. But certainly, if you wish to reach out to me directly, you have my mobile there, you have my email address there. But if there are any other questions just now, then please don't hesitate to ask.
With regards to the boot, obviously, I noticed it's an 8-inch boot. Recommendations in the UK, especially from the HSE, from the Oversight Committee, and the work that's done, is that anybody working with molten metal wears what we call a full-length boot in this country. So realistically, we're looking at a boot that's somewhere sort of 13 to 14 inches in length. And especially so, the hotter the material you're working with, because the penetration time through any protective clothing and the leather itself is so much quicker. Is there any potential on the horizon for a longer length boot being developed?
I can answer that. So no, thank you for the question. You know, our first entry into it was the 8-inch boot. Like I said, that we partnered with a key foundry in Europe. We're going to start there. We are looking at different heights and also taking into some of the other considerations for future models. So something that we may consider in the future. And then again, like as you have demands like that, please send them to John, because it's our job as merchants to assess, future opportunities for sure. So thank you.
Yeah, I certainly think having the longer boot available, definitely in the UK.
Yeah.
And being capable of dealing with ferrous metals as well as the non-ferrous metals will actually open the market up more so to people. The vast majority of the industry in the UK tends to be non-ferrous side of things, because you've got to go non-ferrous when you go into sand casting when you go non-ferrous. So you've got risk at both the furnaces and then at the sand molds as well, should one of those fail. So a longer boot that can be worn underneath the trousers, which is the best way to wear them. You help stop the risk of metal penetration down the top of the boot. Is definitely something from the safety initiative point of view. That's what we always try and push for industry.
That's great. No, thank you for that.
I think from my point of view, as I say, as we've been trying to do, and I know it's been difficult with COVID to visit some of these foundries just to get a better understanding of what is needed, because of course what we've done in the past and now with this particular boot is obviously worked very closely with the company that we developed the boot with. But I mean, what I'd love to be able to do is to find that opportunity for you, for your foundries to produce a boot garment, for that matter, that works for you. So I think I see great benefit in trying to get to foundries to get a better understanding of what you do. It's what we've done in the other industries that we work in across the world, and it's what I'd like to do in this one as well.
Yeah, and I'm still in contact with the foundries who volunteered visits before. I'll be speaking to both of those in the next couple of days, so I'm sure that's something we can still get our heads together on and make happen. Yeah, that would be excellent. I'd really appreciate that. Be good to do. Right, so I will stop the recording here for now.